Beyond borders, beyond barriers, reclaiming our global legacy. Welcome to a conversation that will fundamentally challenge how you think about wealth, power, and possibility. Today, I want to share transformative insights from one of the most visionary bridge builders of our time, Makeda Smith, founder of Savvy Chicks in Real Estate, registered trademark. Makeda isn't just disrupting the real estate industry. She's reconstructing the very foundation of how we think about legacy building for Black communities across the globe. She's creating pathways where there were walls, building bridges across oceans, and awakening what she calls the female energy we all have within to transform how we approach leadership, land ownership, and generational wealth. What if I told you that everything you've been taught about building wealth and creating legacy was deliberately designed to keep you thinking small? We've been conditioned to believe that success means climbing corporate ladders, buying property in our local neighborhoods, and perhaps investing in the stock market. We measure achievement by individual milestones, the promotion, the house, the retirement account. But these markers of success operate within systems that were never designed for collective liberation. This is where Makeda's vision becomes revolutionary. Through her work, I've come to understand something profound. Building generational wealth for Black professionals isn't just about accumulating assets, it's about reclaiming our narrative around land, leadership, and legacy on a global scale. Let that sink in for a moment. We've been playing a game with rules designed by others on a board that's far smaller than it needs to be. We've been told that success means fitting into established systems. But what if the real power lies in creating new economic bridges between continents? What if your greatest impact could come from connecting Black entrepreneurs in Chicago with opportunities in Accra? What if true wealth building happens when we reconnect the economic ties that colonization and slavery deliberately severed? This shift challenges us to think beyond local impact and embrace a truly international vision for our communities. It invites us to step into our power as global bridge builders, people who connect resources, opportunities, and human potential across borders. When Makeda founded Savvy Chicks in Real Estate registered trademark, she could have created just another investment group. Instead, she built an organization that deliberately connects the diaspora back to the continent through strategic property investments. Recently, she expanded operations from the US into Ghana by forging partnerships that enable diaspora investment in ancestral lands. This wasn't easy. She faced significant skepticism around international investments and had to navigate complex cross border regulations. Many told her it couldn't be done, that the risks were too great, that Black women should focus on safer investments closer to home. They told me I was crazy, Makeda shared. They said, why would anyone invest in property they haven't seen in a country they've never visited? But I knew something they didn't, that our people have been disconnected from our ancestral lands for too long, and that reconnection is not just financial, it is spiritual, it's healing. Instead of accepting these limitations, Makeda built strategic alliances with reputable developers like Stephanie Nelson of Legacy Founder Estates. Together, they created educational pathways to international property acquisition. They developed transparent processes that built trust, and the results? They've enabled dozens of Black professionals from the diaspora to own land and property in Ghana, many without ever having set foot on the continent before making their investment. Think about what this means. For generations, Land ownership has been a primary path to wealth building, one that was systematically denied to Black communities through redlining, discriminatory lending, and other practices. Now, Makeda is creating new pathways to land ownership, not just in America, but across the ocean, reconnecting the diaspora with ancestral lands and new opportunities. One client, a 45-year-old professor from Atlanta, told Makeda, I never thought I could own property in Africa. My grandparents couldn't even own property in certain parts of Georgia. Now my children will inherit land on two continents. That's not just wealth, that's reclaiming our birthright. The partnership between CIRE and Legacy Founder Estates offers us another powerful lesson about collaboration and trust building. Together, these organizations face significant challenges, overcoming distrust due to past experiences where overseas investments went awry, educating clients unfamiliar with African legal frameworks, and building confidence in a process that many found intimidating. Their solution, they created community. They hosted webinars and workshops demystifying property laws and processes. They built support networks linking investors directly with local experts. They created spaces where questions could be asked honestly, where fears could be expressed without judgment. We're not just selling property, Stephanie Nelson explained. We're rebuilding trust that was broken through centuries of exploitation. When someone from the diaspora invests back home, they're not just buying land, they're healing a historical wound. Within just 1 year, they facilitated dozens of successful transactions between North America and West Africa. Both organizations were founded by women who experienced barriers firsthand when trying to build legacies through real estate and wanted better options for others who looked like them. What strikes me most about Makeda's approach is how she centers leadership development alongside financial returns. Under her direction, SCIRE adopted a model focusing not only on closing deals, but on community upliftment through leadership programs tied directly into their business model. This wasn't an easy sell. Convincing stakeholders that focusing on leadership was as important as closing sales deals. A non traditional approach met initial resistance both internally and externally. Many question why a real estate organization should concern itself with leadership development at all. But Makeda held firm to her vision. Real estate without community development is just gentrification by another name, she insists. We're not interested in extracting wealth from communities. We're interested in building wealth within communities with the people who live there as leaders and beneficiaries. She launched mentorship initiatives pairing seasoned professionals with newcomers interested in both entrepreneurship and social impact work. She created leadership cohorts that brought together investors from the diaspora with local entrepreneurs in Ghana. She insisted that every transaction include an educational component that benefited both sides of the exchange. The result? She's cultivated new generations of leaders equipped not only financially, but also mentally and emotionally prepared to sustain long term change. Multiple alumni now run their own businesses or lead community focused initiatives inspired by this holistic approach. She's helped redefine standards within real estate entrepreneurship circles regarding what true empowerment looks like beyond profit margins alone. From my conversations with Makeda and examination of her work, three key insights emerge that can transform how we think about legacy building. First, building legacy requires intentionality. True generational wealth goes beyond personal gain. It's about intentionally creating pathways for others, especially across the African diaspora, to access land ownership, business opportunities, and leadership roles. It's healing in real time, addressing historical wounds by creating new possibilities. Second, collaboration is essential. Partnering with like minded leaders can be transformative, enabling collective progress rather than isolated wins. The partnership between SCIRE and Legacy Founder Estates demonstrates how women working together across continents can create opportunities that neither could create alone. Third, your story matters globally. The experiences and expertise you bring as a Black professional have value not just locally but internationally. Don't underestimate your ability to make an impact across borders by bridging gaps between communities. What Makeda and her partners are doing challenges the very foundation of how we think about wealth building for Black communities. They're not just helping individuals invest, they're reconnecting a diaspora, rebuilding economic ties severed by centuries of displacement, and creating new pathways for capital to flow within our communities rather than always flowing out. This work invites us to ask ourselves, how might your definition of legacy shift if you saw yourself not just as an individual success story, but as part of a global movement reclaiming space, opportunity, and power across continents? The truth is, we've been taught to think small when it comes to our impact. We've been conditioned to believe that success means fitting into existing systems rather than creating new ones. We've been encouraged to compete for limited resources rather than collaborate to expand them. I challenge you today. Reject the narrow definition of success that keeps you isolated in your achievements. Embrace instead your power as a bridge builder, someone who connects communities, capital, and capabilities across borders. Ask yourself, what unique perspective do I bring that could create value not just in my local community, but for our global diaspora? What skills do I possess that could help rebuild economic ties between communities separated by oceans but connected by history? What resources do I have access to that could be leveraged to create opportunity, not just for me, but for generations to come? Then take action. Research organizations like SCIRE that are already doing this work. Explore investment opportunities beyond your borders. Connect with others who share your vision for building global legacy. Start small if you must, but start thinking beyond the boundaries that have been set for you. Because when we build these bridges between continents, between communities, between generations, we don't just create wealth, we create healing, we create possibility, we create the world we want to see. Our ancestors crossed oceans against their will. Today, we have the opportunity to cross those same oceans with purpose, to reclaim our narrative, rebuild our connections, and create legacies that span continents. This is not just about money. This is about meaning. This is about memory. This is about making whole what was deliberately broken. The question is not whether you will build a legacy, you will. The question is whether that legacy will be defined by the limited options presented to you or by the boundless possibilities you dare to create. The choice is yours. The time is now. The world is waiting.